A foul odor at a Hollywood tow yard. A luxury Tesla abandoned in the hills. And inside the front trunk, the decomposed, dismembered remains of a 15-year-old girl who'd been missing for months. This isn't a horror movie. This is real life. And it happened just weeks ago. Imagine this. September 2025. Workers at a Los Angeles impound lot are going about their daily routine when they notice something off. There's a smell, thick, unmistakable, the kind that makes your stomach turn. They trace it to a sleek 2023 Tesla Model X that had been sitting there for days. They check the back. Nothing. They check the interior. Nothing. Then someone remembers, Teslas have a front trunk. A frunk. What they found inside would shock a nation. The body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a 15-year-old girl from Lake Elsinore, California, so badly decomposed that investigators believe she'd been dead for weeks. But here's where this case spirals into something far more disturbing. That Tesla? It wasn't registered to some random stranger. It belonged to D4VD, a 20-year-old rising R&B sensation with millions of streams and a hit song ironically titled Romantic Homicide. Let that sink in for a moment. Celeste had been reported missing multiple times since she was just 13 years old. 13. Deputies visited her family home at least 11 times between 2022 and 2025. 11 documented opportunities to intervene, to ask questions, to save her life. But somehow she still slipped through every crack in the system. Neighbors saw her running away repeatedly, caught in cycles of shouting matches and chaos. Teachers heard her jokes about escaping. Friends watched her struggle. And yet, when her body was finally discovered in the front trunk of a celebrity's car, authorities still couldn't tell us how she died. As of October 3, 2025, nearly a month after her remains were found, the cause of death is still listed as deferred. No arrests have been made. No charges filed. Just questions. So many questions. How does a 15-year-old girl disappear for months, only to turn up dismembered in a car registered to a famous musician? Why were 11 police visits to her home not enough to protect her? What was the connection between Celeste and D4VD? The matching tattoos, the song lyrics, the suddenly vacated rental home. And most haunting of all, how many warning signs did we ignore before it was too late? This is the story of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a beloved daughter, sister, cousin, and friend whose bright spirit was extinguished in the shadows of fame, family chaos, and a system that failed her repeatedly. It's a story that exposes the terrifying gaps in child welfare, the dangers lurking behind Instagram-perfect facades, and the heartbreaking reality that sometimes, crying for help isn't loud enough. Before we dive deeper into who Celeste really was and how everything unraveled, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. Because this case isn't just about one girl. It's about every vulnerable teenager out there who might be next. It's about the system that's supposed to protect them but keeps failing. And it's about the uncomfortable questions we need to start asking before another Celeste disappears. Let's uncover the truth. Celeste wasn't just another runaway statistic. She was a beloved daughter, sister, cousin, and friend who dreamed of stability while trapped in chaos. At 15 years old, she was still supposed to be worrying about homework, crushes, and what to wear to school, not whether she'd have a safe place to sleep at night. Those who knew her described a girl with a bright spirit. She had friends at school who genuinely cared about her. She loved creative pursuits, drawing, writing, the kinds of outlets that gave her an escape from reality. On the surface, she was just another teenager navigating high school in Lake Elsinore, California. But beneath that facade was a girl fighting battles most of us can't imagine. Her home life in Riverside County was turbulent, to put it mildly. Family strife wasn't occasional, it was constant. Shouting matches echoed through the walls regularly. Neighbors became uncomfortably familiar with the sounds of conflict spilling out into the street. Celeste's middle school ex-boyfriend, Damian Hernandez, later shared with media outlets that she'd confided in him during their relationship. She told him her parents were really mean. She'd joke about running away during casual school conversations, the kind of jokes that, looking back, weren't jokes at all. They were cries for help disguised as humor. And she did run. Repeatedly. The first time Celeste was reported missing, she was only 13 years old. 13. That was back in 2024. She'd disappear for days at a time only to return home, and the cycle would start all over again. Neighbors watched this pattern unfold in real time. They'd see her flee the house, sometimes with nothing but the clothes on her back. Days later she'd be back, but nothing had changed. The arguments continued. The instability remained. And Celeste kept running. Her final disappearance came in April 2024. She was reported missing once again, but this time she never came back. Here's what makes this case so enraging. The warning signs weren't subtle. They were screaming. Riverside County Sheriff's records reveal that deputies visited Celeste's family home at least 11 times between 2022 and early October 2025. 11 times. These weren't just casual drop-bys. Many were classified as follow-ups, welfare checks, disturbance calls, the kind of interventions that suggest something is seriously wrong. So the question becomes, how do you visit a home 11 times, document repeated issues with a vulnerable teenage girl, and still fail to protect her? There's even video evidence. Months after one of her initial disappearances, someone captured Celeste in a heated argument outside her home. The footage shows the volatility she endured, the chaos she was trying to escape. Yet no meaningful intervention seemed to follow. From the outside, Celeste looked like a troubled teen acting out. A runaway. A problem child. But between the lines, a girl was screaming for help, and no one heard her. Or worse, they heard her and did nothing. Now let's talk about the other central figure in this story, David Anthony Burke, better known by his stage name, D4VD. D4VD wasn't just any 20-year-old. He was a rising R&B sensation with millions of streams across platforms. His breakout hit? A song called Romantic Homicide. Yes, you heard that right. The irony is chilling, almost too on the nose to believe. His music resonated with Gen Z audiences, moody, emotional tracks about love, heartbreak, and inner turmoil. He was building a legitimate career in the music industry. So how does a promising young artist end up connected to a case like this? Friends of Celeste began speculating about a romantic link between the two. There were whispers, observations that seemed innocuous at first but grew more disturbing under scrutiny. Both Celeste and D4VD had matching red ink tattoos on their fingers, the kind of matching ink that suggests intimacy, a bond. Then there was a leaked D4VD song that allegedly contained a lyric directly referencing the name, Celeste. Fans and internet sleuths latched onto these details, dissecting every piece of content he'd ever released. But here's the critical part. Authorities have not confirmed any relationship between them. Not officially. Everything remains speculation, rumors swirling in the absence of concrete answers. What we do know for certain is this. The Tesla where Celeste's body was found was registered to D4VD. After her remains were discovered, police searched a Hollywood Hills rental home he'd recently vacated. He'd broken his lease early. They seized a computer. They looked for blood evidence. And then, silence. No arrests. No charges. Just his deafening silence and a fan base desperate for answers. Where are you watching from right now? Have you ever known someone trapped in a cycle like Celeste's? Running from a home that should have been safe, ignored by systems that should have protected them? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story isn't just about one girl in California. It's about vulnerable teenagers in every community, everywhere, falling through cracks that should have been closed years ago. It's not clear exactly when Celeste's home became unbearable. Was it a single traumatic event? Years of accumulated pain? We may never know the precise moment she decided that the streets were safer than her own bedroom. But according to records and witnesses, the warnings were everywhere, flashing red lights that somehow everyone managed to ignore. In 2024 alone, Celeste was reported missing at least 3 times. 3 separate occasions where her family had to call authorities and say, "Our daughter is gone again." Think about that pattern for a moment. This wasn't a one-time rebellious act. This was a desperate, repeating cycle. Leave, return, leave again, each time seemingly more desperate than the last. Damian Hernandez, her middle school ex-boyfriend, painted a heartbreaking picture when he spoke to media after her death. During their relationship, Celeste had confided in him regularly. She'd talk about how her parents treated her, how unbearable things were at home. Those jokes, about running away during lunch breaks and between classes? They weren't teenage melodrama. They were escape fantasies from a girl who genuinely believed she had no other option. And the neighbors? They saw everything unfold in real time. One neighbor told reporters something that should haunt all of us. She would take off and come back. We saw the signs, but no one acted. That statement isn't just an observation, it's an indictment. It's an entire community admitting they watched a child suffer and did nothing meaningful to stop it. Were they supposed to intervene? Should they have pushed harder? Called more authorities? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're necessary ones. Because the truth is, everyone saw Celeste was in trouble. Everyone knew. But knowing and acting are 2 very different things. Now let's talk about the most damning evidence of systemic failure in this entire case. Those 11 police visits. From 2022 through early October 2025, Riverside County Sheriff's deputies visited Celeste's family home repeatedly. These weren't friendly wellness checks or community policing drop-bys. The records classify many of these visits as follow-ups, welfare checks, and disturbance calls. That language tells you everything you need to know. There were ongoing, documented concerns about what was happening inside that house. So here's the critical question. With 11 documented visits, how did Celeste fall through every single safety net we've supposedly built to protect vulnerable children? 11 times, trained law enforcement officers came to that door. 11 times, they had an opportunity to dig deeper, ask harder questions, remove a child from a dangerous environment. And 11 times, Celeste was left behind. What were those conversations like? Did they speak to her alone? Did they assess the situation properly? Or did they simply check a box on a report and move on to the next call? To be fair, we need context. Riverside County, like many jurisdictions across California, is dealing with overburdened resources. Social workers are drowning in caseloads. Child protective services are stretched impossibly thin. Every year, thousands of at-risk teens slip through the cracks in California alone, running away, disappearing, falling victim to trafficking, abuse, or worse. The system isn't just strained, it's broken. But does that excuse what happened to Celeste? Does understanding the systemic problems make it any less devastating that interventions fell short, leaving her vulnerable in a system that was supposed to save her? The answer is no. Understanding doesn't equal acceptance. Celeste deserved better. And so does every other child currently trapped in the same cycle. April 2024. That's when Celeste was reported missing for what would be the final time. She vanished, and unlike previous occasions, she didn't come back after a few days. This time, the silence stretched into weeks, then months. Her family searched. Friends speculated about where she might be. Social media pages were created asking for information. But something else stands out about this disappearance. There was no Amber Alert. Why not? Amber Alerts are designed for exactly these situations. Endangered missing children who might be in immediate danger. Celeste had a documented history of running away from an unstable home. She was a minor. She was vulnerable. So why wasn't every phone in California buzzing with her face and description? Was it because she'd run away before, and authorities assumed this was just another temporary escape? Did they think she'd come back like she always did? That assumption may have cost her life. While her family desperately searched for answers, somewhere out there, a Tesla was being driven. D4VD's Tesla. At some point between April and late August, that vehicle went from being a mode of transportation to becoming Celeste's tomb. Someone was driving it. Someone parked it in the Hollywood Hills. And someone walked away, leaving a 15-year-old girl's body to decompose in the front trunk. Let's talk about the clues that were sitting right in front of us. The red flags we dismissed as coincidences or teenage drama. That video of Celeste in a heated argument outside her home, recorded months after one of her initial disappearances? It captured the chaos she was trying to escape, the volatility that defined her existence. But it was just another piece of content that got filed away, ignored, forgotten. Her social media activity tells its own story. Friends and followers noticed that around April 2024, Celeste simply stopped posting. No updates, no stories, no messages. For a generation that lives online, that kind of silence is deafening. Yet no one raised enough alarm bells. People assumed she was taking a break, going through something, or just being moody. They didn't assume she was dead. Then there were those matching red ink tattoos. Friends noticed them, Celeste and D4VD with identical finger tattoos. Eyebrows were raised. Whispers started. But was there any official investigation into their connection? Not that we know of. It was dismissed as youthful rebellion, coincidence, or harmless aesthetic choices. And that leaked song lyric allegedly referencing Celeste? Fans caught it. Internet sleuths analyzed it. But authorities? They treated it like just another piece of artistic expression. Maybe it was. Or maybe it was a confession hiding in plain sight. If you were Celeste's neighbor, teacher, or close friend, what would you have done differently? Would you have called authorities more aggressively? Offered her a safe place to stay? Demanded that someone, anyone, take her situation seriously? Could you have saved her? Let's talk about it in the comments, because this isn't just about assigning blame. It's about recognizing these signs in real time, right now, in your own community, because somewhere out there there's another Celeste. Another teenager trapped in chaos, crying for help in ways we're not hearing. And if we don't learn from this tragedy, history will repeat itself. While Celeste's family prayed for her return, While friends held on to hope that maybe this time she'd come back, a 2023 Tesla Model X sat abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, hiding a nightmare. The timeline of that vehicle tells its own chilling story. August 27, 2025. Parking enforcement officers in the Hollywood Hills noticed the Tesla had been sitting in the same spot for days. They marked the tires, standard procedure for abandoned vehicles. It's a warning, move your car or it'll be towed. September 3, 2025. The vehicle was officially cited. Still no owner had come to claim it or move it. No phone calls to the police asking about its location. Nothing. Just silence. September 5, 2025. The Tesla was impounded and transported to a Hollywood tow yard, joining dozens of other abandoned, illegally parked, or seized vehicles waiting to be claimed or auctioned off. And for days after that, it just sat there. Workers walked past it. Customers came and went. Paperwork was processed. Life continued as normal in that tow yard. No one knew that just feet away, in the front compartment of a luxury electric vehicle, a 15-year-old girl's body was rotting. Then came the smell. Tow yard workers began noticing an increasingly strong odor emanating from the Tesla's general area. At first it might have been dismissed. Tow yards aren't exactly known for pleasant aromas. Old cars, leaked fluids, forgotten food, urban decay. But this smell was different. Was organic. Was wrong. They started investigating. First they checked the trunk. Standard procedure. Pop it open, see if someone left groceries or garbage that's been festering in the California heat. Nothing. The trunk was empty. Then they checked the back seat looking for any source of the stench. Maybe something had rolled under the seats or someone had left something in a door pocket. Again nothing. The interior looked clean. The smell persisted. In fact, it was getting worse. And then someone remembered something important about Teslas. They have a front trunk. A frunk. It's where the engine would be in a traditional car, but since Teslas are electric, that space becomes additional storage. Most people don't even think about it. But these workers knew. And on September 8, 2025, someone decided to check it. When they opened that front trunk, the horror they found would haunt them forever. Inside was a severely decomposed, dismembered body. The remains were in such an advanced state of decay that immediate identification was impossible. This wasn't someone who'd died recently. This was someone who'd been dead for a significant period of time, weeks, possibly longer. The scene was immediately secured. Law enforcement was called. The Los Angeles Police Department's Robbery Homicide Division responded. This was clearly not a routine death investigation. Crime scene investigators documented everything. Forensic teams collected evidence. And the painstaking process of identifying the victim began. Through forensic analysis, dental records, DNA testing, whatever identifiable features remained, they eventually confirmed the unthinkable. The body belonged to Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the 15-year-old girl who'd been missing since April. The girl whose family had been searching for months. The girl the system had failed repeatedly. She'd been there the entire time, decomposing in that front trunk while the car was marked, cited, towed, and stored. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office opened case number 2025-14252. The autopsy revealed disturbing details, but also glaring gaps in what we know. The official date of death was listed as September 8, 2025, but that's just the discovery date, not when Celeste actually died. Based on the condition of her remains, experts believe she'd been deceased for several weeks prior to being found. The level of decomposition suggested she'd likely been dead since sometime in the summer, possibly as early as late spring. Here's the critical detail that makes this case even more horrific. Her body had been dismembered. This wasn't someone who died accidentally and been hidden in panic. This was deliberate. This was calculated. Someone had taken the time to dismember a 15-year-old girl's body and conceal it in a vehicle. But here's what we still don't know. The cause of death is listed as deferred, pending toxicology and further lab analysis. Was she strangled? Shot? Poisoned? Did she overdose or was she murdered? The medical examiner couldn't determine that from the remains alone. One detail the autopsy did confirm. Celeste was not pregnant in the year leading up to her death. This matters because it shuts down one avenue of speculation about possible motives. As of October 3, 2025, 3 weeks after her body was found, we still don't know how Celeste died. The LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division took over the investigation immediately. But here's where things get legally complicated. They've classified this as a death investigation, not a homicide. At least not yet. Why the distinction? Because without a determined cause of death, prosecutors can't file murder charges. They can't prove homicide if they don't know how she died. What they do acknowledge is criminal culpability for concealing the body. Someone put her there. Someone dismembered her. Someone is responsible for hiding her remains. Those are crimes in themselves: desecration of human remains, improper disposal of a body, potentially obstruction of justice. But murder? That requires proof of how she died. And right now they don't have it. So many questions remain unanswered. How long was Celeste's body in that trunk? Days? Weeks? Months? Where was she actually killed? Was it in the Hollywood Hills near where the car was found, or somewhere else entirely, maybe even back in Lake Elsinore? Who drove the car to the Hollywood Hills? Was it D4VD himself? Someone he knew? A stranger who stole the vehicle? And why was it abandoned in that specific location? Was it random, or was there significance to that spot? Pause and think about this for a moment. A 15-year-old's body was decomposing in a luxury car for weeks while people walked by, parked nearby, went about their daily lives. Enforcement officers marked the tires. Citation officers wrote tickets. Tow truck drivers transported it. All while Celeste was right there, hidden in plain sight. How many chances did we have to find her alive? The Tesla was registered to David Anthony Burke, D4VD. That single fact transformed this case from a tragic death investigation into a media firestorm. But let's be clear about something crucial. Registration doesn't mean guilt. Owning a vehicle where a body is found doesn't automatically make you a murderer. Cars get stolen. They get borrowed. They get used by multiple people. So the question law enforcement faced became, what's the real connection between a 20-year-old R&B star and a missing 15-year-old girl? That's what investigators have been trying to answer ever since. Friends of Celeste started coming forward with speculation about a romantic involvement between her and D4VD. These weren't random internet rumors. These were people who actually knew Celeste, who'd spent time with her, who claimed to have seen things that suggested something deeper than a casual acquaintance. The physical evidence they pointed to? Those matching red ink tattoos on their fingers. Is the kind of matching body art that couples get, a symbol of connection, intimacy, commitment. Why would a 15-year-old girl and a 20-year-old musician have identical tattoos unless there was something significant between them? Then there's the musical evidence. A leaked D4VD song allegedly contains a lyric directly referencing the name, Celeste. Fans caught it immediately when the track surfaced online. They dissected every word, every inflection, searching for hidden meanings or confessions. Was it about her? Was it written before or after her disappearance? Was it a love song, a confession, or just an unfortunate coincidence? Let's talk about that age gap for a moment. When Celeste disappeared in April 2024, she was 14 or 15 years old. D4VD was 19 or 20. In California, the age of consent is 18. If there was a romantic or sexual relationship between them, that's statutory rape. Period. It doesn't matter if it was consensual in the colloquial sense. A 14 or 15-year-old cannot legally consent to a relationship with an adult. The law is crystal clear on this. But here's the critical note that we cannot overlook. Authorities have not confirmed any relationship between Celeste and D4VD. Not romantic, not sexual, not even friendship. Everything we're discussing right now remains speculation based on observations from friends and circumstantial evidence. The police haven't verified these claims, and without confirmation, we're dealing with theories, not facts. 10 days after Celeste's body was discovered, on September 18, 2025, LAPD detectives executed a search warrant on a Hollywood Hills rental home that D4VD had recently occupied. Notice the word recently. He wasn't living there anymore when they arrived. He'd broken his lease early. He'd moved out. Some might call that fleeing. Others might call it coincidental timing. But the optics? They're not good. During the search, investigators seized a computer, likely looking for digital communications, search histories, any evidence of contact with Celeste or knowledge of what happened to her. They also searched specifically for blood evidence. Were there signs of violence in that home? Had Celeste been there? Was that where she died? According to reports, no blood was found. At least, none that's been publicly disclosed. So here's the paradox that makes this case so maddening. If D4VD is innocent, why vacate a rental property right as this investigation heats up? Why not stay, cooperate, help police clear your name? But if he's guilty, why would you leave behind the most damning piece of evidence, the Tesla with a body in it, abandoned where anyone could find it? Neither scenario makes complete sense, which is exactly why this case has captivated public attention. Police are working multiple angles simultaneously, trying to build a case despite the gaps in evidence. Digital forensics are a major focus. That seized computer could contain everything: messages with Celeste, incriminating searches, evidence of planning or cover-up. Phone records are being subpoenaed. Social media DMs are being requested from platforms. Every digital footprint is being traced. Then there's the Tesla itself. Modern Teslas are equipped with Sentry Mode, built-in cameras that record when the vehicle detects motion or potential threats. If Sentry Mode was active, there could be footage of who placed Celeste's body in that front trunk when it happened and possibly where. Police have already requested this footage from Tesla, though it's unclear if it exists or if it's been provided yet. Witness statements are being collected. Did anyone see Celeste and D4VD together? Did neighbors notice the Tesla's movements? Were there other people involved? Friends, accomplices, innocent bystanders who saw something without realizing its significance? And perhaps most critically, investigators are waiting on toxicology and forensic lab results. Until they determine how Celeste died, they can't move forward with murder charges. Defense attorney Sarah Azari explained the legal challenges facing prosecutors in this case. Without a determined cause of death, prosecutors can't build a homicide case. It's that simple and that frustrating. The evidence right now is circumstantial. As one legal analyst put it, it's all about who placed the body there and why. That's what needs to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. What charges are possible even without a determined cause of death? Concealment of death, improper disposal of remains, desecration of human remains. If a relationship is confirmed, statutory rape charges could be filed. These are serious felonies that carry significant prison time. But murder charges? Those are impossible without knowing how Celeste died. You can't charge someone with taking a life if you can't prove the life was unlawfully taken versus lost through accident, overdose, or other means. D4VD's team has maintained complete radio silence. No public statements. No social media posts. No attempts to clear his name or express condolences. Just silence. That silence has driven fans and internet sleuths into a frenzy. They're analyzing his music videos frame by frame, some of which feature violent, gory imagery. They're dissecting every lyric he's ever written, searching for confessions or clues. His breakout hit, Romantic Homicide, has seen streaming numbers surge due to morbid curiosity. Police have dismissed direct connections between his artistic content and the crime. Creative expression doesn't equal criminal confession, and plenty of artists explore dark themes without ever committing violence. LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell has stated that significant resources are dedicated to this case. They're taking it seriously. They're building their investigation carefully. But as of October 3, 2025, nearly a month after the discovery, no arrests have been made. The public debate rages on. Is D4VD a predator who silenced a vulnerable victim? Or is this a tragic case of circumstantial evidence, wrong place and wrong car, with the real perpetrator still at large? What do you think? The evidence is thin, the gaps are enormous, but your gut reaction matters. Comment below with your theories because this case is far from over. Celeste Rivas Hernandez leaves behind a family shattered by tragedy. In the wake of her death, her loved ones launched a GoFundMe campaign to raise funds for funeral and memorial expenses. Their message was simple but devastating. Her family is heartbroken and devastated by this tragic loss. These aren't just words, they're the raw expression of grief from people who will never be whole again. Last week, Celeste's body was finally released to her family. After weeks in the medical examiner's custody, after autopsies and forensic analysis, she was allowed to come home one final time. Her memorial service is scheduled for October 4, 2025, in Lake Elsinore, a chance for her community to say goodbye to a girl who deserved so much more than the life and death she was given. Vigils have sprung up organically. One at her family home, where neighbors gather with candles and tears. Another at the tow yard in Hollywood where her body was discovered, a grim pilgrimage site where strangers come to demand accountability. These aren't just memorial gatherings. They're rallying cries. They're communities saying, never again. Celeste dreamed of stability. That's all she wanted. A home where she felt safe, where arguments didn't end in her running into the streets, where she could just be a teenager. She enjoyed simple joys, school friendships, creative pursuits, the ordinary beautiful moments that most of us take for granted. She was a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a friend. People loved her. People wanted better for her. And her bright spirit deserved protection, not abandonment. Instead, she got a system that documented her suffering without stopping it. She got 11 police visits that changed nothing. She got a community that saw the signs but didn't act. And ultimately, she got a death so horrific that we still don't know exactly what happened to her. Let's name them clearly. 11 police visits equal 11 missed opportunities. How does that happen? When does documentation become more important than intervention? Why was there no Amber Alert when Celeste disappeared in April 2024? Why no intensive follow-up for a girl with a documented pattern of fleeing danger? At what point do we stop treating runaways as nuisances and start treating them as endangered children? California alone has thousands of missing teens annually. Thousands. Celeste wasn't an anomaly, she was a statistic waiting to happen. And until we fundamentally restructure how we protect vulnerable children, she won't be the last. If the speculated relationship between Celeste and D4VD existed, how was a 19 or 20-year-old man involved with a 14 or 15-year-old girl not flagged by anyone? Where were the mandated reporters? Where were the adults who should have noticed? That neighbor's words continue to haunt. We saw the signs, but no one acted. Now, advocates are demanding concrete changes. And mandatory follow-ups on every missing youth report, regardless of previous runaway history. Enhanced vehicle data access in investigations, including automatic sentry mode requests for registered owners in death investigations. A better runaway prevention programs that address root causes, not just symptoms. Comprehensive foster system reforms so children aren't trapped between dangerous homes and broken institutions. Celeste's story exposes the perils facing at-risk youth everywhere. Unstable homes, inadequate oversight, and the dangerous shadows where fame and tragedy intersect. This isn't just about one girl in Lake Elsinore. This is about every vulnerable teen slipping through cracks in systems that claim to protect them. How many more Celeste are out there right now? How many kids are running from homes while systems look the other way? How many are one bad decision, one predatory relationship, one missed welfare check away from becoming the next headline? If Celeste's death teaches us anything, it should be this. See the signs. Repeated runaways aren't rebellion, they're screams for help. Intervene meaningfully. Welfare checks and documentation aren't enough. Demand action. Remove children from danger. Protect vulnerable youth, especially from predatory age gap relationships. A 20-year-old has no business being romantically involved with a 15-year-old. Full stop. Question celebrity worship. Fame doesn't equal innocence. Status doesn't exempt anyone from scrutiny. Demand accountability. Systems must evolve or more children will die. We can't let bureaucracy and resource limitations become acceptable excuses for preventable tragedies. Celeste deserved better. And so does every child currently trapped in her nightmare. So, what do you think happened to Celeste? Was D4VD the shadowy figure behind her disappearance, entangled in a forbidden romance that turned deadly, or is this a heartbreaking case of tragic coincidence, perhaps stolen identity or an opportunistic crime? The evidence is thin. No cause of death, no arrests, and a system riddled with failures that let her slip away. More importantly, how do we prevent the next Celeste from falling through those same cracks? Recognize the signs. Repeated runaways aren't rebellion, they're cries for help. Demand better from child welfare. Mandatory interventions, Amber Alerts for every at-risk teen, and scrutiny of predatory relationships hiding in plain sight. Drop your theories and thoughts in the comments below. If you or someone you know is trapped in a dangerous home situation, don't wait, reach out now. Resources like the National Runaway SAFA line, 1-800-RUNAWAY, and California's Child Protective Services hotline 1-800-540-4000 are in the description. They could save a life. This is Whispers of the Criminal Mind, where every story uncovers hard truths and carries a lesson in vigilance. Subscribe so you never miss the revelations behind the headlines. Hit that notification bell. Celeste's case is still unfolding, and justice demands we keep watching, fighting, and remembering her light.